The rain was hammering against the office window. It felt like the world was trying to match the storm inside my head. I stared at the email on my screen. The words were simple, but they carried the weight of a final judgment. "We've decided to move in a different direction," it read. My project, the one I had poured months of my life into, was being canceled. Just like that, it was over. All the late nights, the missed family dinners, the constant stress. A knot of failure tightened in my stomach, cold and hard. I felt a familiar wave of panic begin to rise, the kind that makes your breath catch and your vision blur at the edges. My hands started to shake slightly. I gripped the edge of my desk, trying to anchor myself to something solid. The room felt like it was shrinking, the walls closing in. My mind raced, replaying every mistake, every wrong turn. What could I have done differently? Where did I go wrong? The questions were a relentless assault, each one a fresh stab of self-doubt. This wasn't the first time I had felt this way. For years, my life had been a cycle of high hopes, followed by crushing disappointments. I was constantly chasing things I couldn't seem to hold on to. A promotion, a successful project, a sense of lasting peace. Each failure left me more fragile than the last. I pushed my chair back and walked to the window, watching the raindrops race down the glass. Each one seemed to follow its own chaotic path, much like my own life. I felt adrift, powerless against the currents of circumstance. This feeling of helplessness was my constant companion. It was there when my car broke down on the highway, when an argument with a loved one left me reeling. And now, as I face this professional dead end. I had always believed that if I just tried harder, if I just controlled every detail, everything would eventually fall into place. But the harder I grasped, the more things seemed to slip through my fingers like sand. That day, something inside me broke. I was tired of being a puppet, jerked around by external events. I was tired of the anxiety, the anger, the deep, gnawing feeling that I was not in control of my own life. The project's failure was just the final straw, the event that made it impossible to ignore the truth any longer. My way of living wasn't working. I was constantly reacting, never truly acting. I needed a new way to navigate the world, a different operating system for my mind. I didn't know what it was, but I knew I couldn't go on like this. The storm outside was just weather, but the storm inside was destroying me. Later that evening, I was scrolling aimlessly through my phone, a desperate attempt to distract myself from the hollow feeling in my chest. My thumb flicked past news articles and social media updates, nothing holding my attention for more than a second. Then, I saw it. It was a simple image with text overlaid. A quote from a man I had barely heard of, a Roman emperor named Marcus Aurelius. The words were stark and direct. "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." I stopped scrolling. I read the sentence again and then a third time. It was as if a small, steady light had been switched on in a pitch-black room. The idea was so simple, yet it felt revolutionary. Power over my mind, not over my boss's decision, not over the economy, not over whether someone liked me or not, just my mind. The thought was a quiet challenge to the chaos that had ruled me for so long. It suggested that my focus was in the wrong place. The source of my suffering wasn't the failed project. It was my reaction to the failed project. It was the story I was telling myself about what it meant. This was the first time I had ever considered that I had a choice in the matter. This single quote was my entry point into the world of Stoicism. I started reading, first online articles, then books. I read about Seneca, a playwright who advised an emperor. I read about Epictetus, a man who was born a slave and became a revered teacher. And I read more from Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world, who wrote notes to himself to stay sane and virtuous. These weren't distant academics. They were people in the arena of life, dealing with exile, loss, betrayal, and power. They were writing about the very things I was struggling with: anxiety, anger, fear, and the search for a meaningful life. Their philosophy wasn't about suppressing emotion or being a detached robot. It was a practical training system for the mind. It was designed to build resilience, clarity, and an inner calm that external events couldn't shatter. The Stoics offered a toolkit for living a good life, no matter what fortune threw at you. As I read, a sense of hope began to replace the despair. Maybe I could learn to be less reactive. Maybe I could find strength not by changing the world around me, but by changing my relationship with it. This was the beginning of my one-year experiment. In the lessons that follow, I will share the simple, practical Stoic exercises that changed everything for me. Table of Contents, Part 2. Act 1. The first lessons. 1. The first rule. Separate what you control from what you don't. 2. An anchor in the storm of work. 3. The power of imagining loss. 4. Gratitude for the ordinary. 5. Building resilience through discomfort. The first lesson that truly landed for me was the simplest and most profound. The Stoics called it the dichotomy of control. The idea is that some things in life are up to us and others are not. What's up to us are our own thoughts, our judgments, our actions. What's not up to us is almost everything else. What other people think, the weather, the economy, whether my project gets canceled. This concept, taught by Epictetus, was the answer to the feeling of powerlessness that had haunted me for so long. It wasn't about giving up. It was about focusing my energy where it would make a difference. It was a roadmap for finding peace in a chaotic world. Before this, my mind was a battlefield. I would spend hours worrying about things I had no power over. Will my boss like my presentation? Will there be traffic to the meeting? Will my friend be in a good mood when we talk? I was trying to manage the entire universe. The constant failure was exhausting. The dichotomy of control offered me a way out. It gave me permission to let go of the enormous weight of things outside my sphere. It told me my job was not to control the outcome. My job was to control my effort and my attitude. This shift felt like putting down a heavy backpack I hadn't realized I had been carrying. The real challenge was putting the idea into practice. Easy to understand intellectually, harder to live by when anxious or frustrated. I started with a simple mental exercise. Whenever I felt a wave of worry, I would stop and ask, is this within my control? Can I directly influence it with my actions right now? More often than not, the answer was no. Asking the question created a small gap between event and reaction, a space to choose a different response instead of being swept away. When a big deadline was set, I would take out a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On one side, I wrote, in my control. On the other, not in my control. I can break the project into small, manageable tasks. I can create a clear timeline. I can communicate clearly with my team. I can do my own work to the best of my ability. I can ask for help when I need it. This list became my entire focus. The client's final reaction. A key team member getting sick. A sudden change in the project's requirements. Unexpected technical failures. Looking at this list was liberating. By writing them down, I acknowledged them and then consciously chose to let them go. I was focusing all my strength on the one battle I could actually win, the battle over my own actions. This simple exercise changed everything about how I approached my work. When I felt stress creeping in, I would look at my list and redirect my focus back to the things I could do. Right here, right now. I acted. I did my part. And then I let go of the results. My performance at work improved, not because I worked longer hours, but because the hours I did work were focused and free from the paralyzing noise of worry. Section 3. The power of imagining loss. The second Stoic lesson that had a huge impact on me was a practice called premeditatio malorum, which translates to the premeditation of evils. It sounds grim, but its effect is the opposite. The idea is to take a few moments each day to imagine losing the things you value most. Your partner leaving you, losing your job, your health failing. The point is to strip away the casualness with which we treat the good things in our lives. We so often take them for granted, assuming they will always be there. This exercise is a powerful antidote to the human tendency to always want more. We achieve a goal, and for a brief moment, we are happy. But soon, our minds adapt. and we start looking for the next thing. This is what psychologists call the hedonic treadmill, and it's a recipe for constant dissatisfaction. Negative visualization breaks this cycle. By imagining life without the people and things we love, we learn to appreciate them deeply, right now, as they are. I would sit in a quiet room, close my eyes, and choose one thing to focus on. Some days, it was my relationship. I would vividly picture what my life would feel like if my wife was no longer with me. I would imagine the emptiness in the house, the silence where laughter used to be. The feeling was painful, but then I would open my eyes, and she was still here. The wave of gratitude that followed was immense. The small annoyances and petty disagreements that might have bothered me later in the day seemed utterly insignificant. My morning coffee wasn't just caffeine. It was a moment of quiet warmth, a simple pleasure. I noticed the taste. A walk in the park wasn't just a way to get from one place to another. It was a chance to see the sky, to notice a flower pushing through pavement. I started a simple end-of-day action. Alongside my journal, I listed 3 simple things I was grateful for. Not big wins, ordinary things. Grateful for 10 minutes of silence before the kids woke. Grateful for a funny text from a friend. Grateful my body can walk upstairs without pain. The exercise took less than 2 minutes, but it changed me. It trained my mind to scan for positives, not threats. The third lesson I embraced was the idea of voluntary discomfort. The Stoics, particularly Seneca, believed we should periodically expose ourselves to small, controlled doses of hardship. This could mean eating a very simple meal for a day, sleeping on the floor for a night, or taking a cold shower. It is a form of training, like lifting weights for the mind. You get stronger by enduring a little bit of strain. My life was filled with comfort. I had a soft bed, hot water on demand, and a pantry full of food. The slightest inconvenience could throw me off balance. A delayed flight, a slow internet connection, or a chilly room would feel like a major problem because my tolerance for discomfort was so low. I started with the cold shower. The first time I turned the dial from warm to cold, my body revolted. Every instinct screamed at me to turn it back. My breath hitched, and my mind raced with excuses. But I forced myself to stay under the icy spray for just 30 seconds. It felt like an eternity. When I stepped out, though, something amazing happened. I felt an incredible rush of energy and clarity. I had just done something difficult, something my mind told me I couldn't do. That small victory set the tone for the entire day. I slowly expanded this practice. Some days I would fast until lunchtime. Other times, I would intentionally leave my phone in another room. Each of these small acts was a rehearsal for real hardship. They taught my mind a crucial lesson. I can endure more than I think. By choosing my own small hardships, I was better prepared to handle the big ones I didn't choose. Section 1. The fourth lesson. After learning to focus my energy and appreciate what I had, the next Stoic lesson took me deeper. It was about mastering my own judgments. The Stoics teach that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. The failed project didn't cause my suffering. My judgment that the failure was a catastrophe and a reflection of my worthlessness caused it. This idea, central to the teachings of Epictetus, is perhaps the most empowering of all. It means that our emotional state is not at the mercy of the outside world. It is something we create, moment by moment. We are the authors of our own peace or our own turmoil. The Stoic lesson showed me there was a hidden step in this process. An event happens, I form a judgment about it, and only then do I have an emotional response. Realizing this gave me a new point of intervention. The practice begins with a pause. Create a small space between trigger and reaction. Once I identified the judgment, I could challenge it. This process is what the Stoics called testing impressions. Be a detective of your own thoughts, not a passive believer. A perfect example came in the form of a short, blunt message from a colleague on a shared project. The message simply said, "This part is wrong. It needs to be redone." My old self would have instantly flared up. He's calling me incompetent. How dare he be so rude? This time, I tried something different. I felt the familiar hot flash of anger rising, but I caught it. I paused. I took a deep breath and walked away from my computer for a minute. Instead of, "He thinks I'm an idiot," I could choose a different judgment. He is focused on getting the project right and is communicating directly. This shift in perspective changed my emotional state from anger to curiosity and a desire to solve the problem. I went back to my desk and typed a calm, simple reply. "Thanks for catching that. Can you point me to the specific part you mean so I can correct it?" His response came back a few minutes later, much friendlier in tone. The crisis was averted. More than that, our working relationship was strengthened by the calm, professional exchange. Section 3. The fifth lesson. The next lesson that reshaped my life was perhaps the most challenging, but also the most freeing. It is the concept of amor fati, a Latin phrase that means a love of fate. Treat every event, the good, the bad, the ugly, as something to be welcomed. Fighting reality creates suffering. Loving reality leads to tranquility. See obstacles not as barriers but as new paths forward. Focus on process, not outcome. We don't control outcomes. I decided to train for a half marathon. In the past, my entire focus would have been on the finish time. The joy of running was lost, replaced by pressure to perform. Then I used the Stoic approach. I embraced amor fati. If it rained, I learned to love running in the rain. My primary goal was no longer a finish time. My goal was to follow my training plan each day. The victory was putting on my shoes and getting out the door. The process became the purpose. When race day came, I was surprisingly calm. I had already won. I had put in the work, day after day. The race was a victory lap for hundreds of training miles. Section 5. The sixth lesson. A journal for a better self. The final lesson that tied everything together was the practice of keeping a Stoic journal. It was a tool for self-examination and moral improvement. Seneca wrote that he would review his entire day each evening. What fault did you cure today? What temptation did you resist? In what way are you better? I developed a simple 3-part nightly template. 10 minutes. First, describe a specific event factually. Second, analyze my reaction. Third, reflection and action plan. This ritual turned disconnected events into a story of progress. The journal became a mirror, helping me grow into the person I wanted to be. Section 1. A quieter, stronger life. 1 year after that rainy, miserable day in my office, my life does not look dramatically different from the outside. I still have a demanding job. I still have a family. I still face traffic. The world has not changed. But inside, everything has changed. The constant low-grade anxiety that used to be the soundtrack of my life has been replaced by a quiet stillness. The feeling of being a victim of circumstance has been replaced by a steady, grounded sense of agency. The storm is gone. The first ritual is the morning review. Before I check my phone, I take 5 minutes. I sit quietly and think about the day ahead. The second ritual is the midday pause. I stop for 1 minute. I take 3 deep breaths. I ask, am I living by my philosophy right now? The final ritual is the evening journal. 10 minutes at night, inspired by Seneca. Before bed, I open my notebook and review the day. The most beautiful thing about this philosophy is its accessibility. You don't need a special degree. You just need a willingness to pay attention to your own mind. Your journey can begin with a single, deliberate action tomorrow morning. I invite you to try just one of these lessons this week. Pick the one that resonates with you the most. Choose one small thing and do it consistently. These small changes seem insignificant on their own. They are, but they add up. Steady progress, no matter how slow, is what creates lasting change. You have the power to build a more resilient and peaceful inner life. One thought, one action, one day at a time. The path is there. All you have to do is take the first step.